Hello, everyone. Welcome to May Power Hour. I am Tessa Chappell here in Indiana, joined by my cohort, Megan Jax, in Phoenix, Arizona now. So thank you all for joining us live for tonight. We're going to work on two layouts. We're going to start with mine, and then we're going to switch over to Megan. The handouts were emailed yesterday, and if you didn't see the email, check your spam. We don't know why the past few months more has been going to spam than usual. We don't know. It's email is a tricky thing, same as technology and Facebook. So if they're not there, they will be emailed out again tomorrow, and they will also be posted to the website so you can download for free from there also. I am going to flip to my table and see how zoomed out I am. It always changes. Yeah, I knew it looked okay. I get this all primed in when Meg and I are talking, but then inevitably it looks different when we're actually live on Zoom. I gotta zoom it back in so you could guys get a gander of the mess that surrounds my table. It is really bad right now. I've only scrapbooked Power Hour in April and March since Winter Frolic. So that's how busy my life has been. I know some of you can relate. You have periods of your life where you don't have time to scrapbook. That's me right now. But you guys are actually not in that period because you showed up here. But tonight I did a one-page layout. I actually have another one-page layout to do. So this was kind of inspired by, well, I had orchestra pictures. I'm going to end up with a lot of orchestra layouts. And I recently added quite a bit of cardstock to my website, including 8.5 by 11, some of which I have in stash. And then, of course, I also have a supply of these 10 by 12 prints in cardstock also. And so I thought, maybe I could pull a design together using up some of those, because I know some of you have those in your stash also. So for this layout, you need a base paper or cardstock. I used black cardstock. You obviously can cut down any size you want, but this is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock. And then a coordinating color. We're going to use a knockout, so we want something to put in the design behind there. You can use the cardstock also for coordinating mats. And then some sort of print. It doesn't have to be a 10 by 12. It could be scraps or any size really. We're going to have a skinny strip to accent over here and cut a circle out for over here for this one. Yeah, this is the number 2 circle with the red blade, which ends up being about 5 inches. You could go larger or smaller if you want a smaller or larger statement on your page for that. And then we can accent it. This kind of was happenstance with these stickers that I had, but I did pull out the circle punch. Easy to create a little embellishment cluster with the circle punch if you want, or whatever that you do have. This actually is a peekaboo pocket. I didn't show this on the handout, but this is a 4x6. And then I did print two 4x3 photos to stick behind there. And then I have space here for another photo. And then my journaling. I didn't get it journaled before it got sent yesterday because I had to figure out and make sure I knew which concert it was. That is the hard thing about orchestra, is they all wear the same thing every time. And so I had to think about, I got to keep up on these or I'm going to really lose track of that. So this was, I figured out his first concert in October of this year. So this was their symphony. The highest level is called symphony, and that's the one that he's in now. So I got that page done. But then tonight I do have another orchestra layout. So I actually had a few more photos. And I was like, you know what, while I'm actually know what night this was, I should probably go ahead and scrapbook them. So I just had 3 photos from this one. It was in May. So I thought about doing something springy, but I went back to my normal. Our high school colors are red and white. So I do like to keep the red in there, and black adds a formality to it. And so I was looking at what to coordinate with. I did have this sheet. I'm actually not sure what color this is because it is the original 10 by 12 sheet that I'm going to use instead of 8.5 by 11. I'm not going to be able to cut quite to 8.5 because I am using a scrap, but I am going to get it pretty close. You might recognize this if you've been around a long time. This is from the Perfect Fit Reds paper pack. Those Perfect Fit color packs actually have some very nice tonal prints in there. So if you have those in your stash, I would get them out and put them with your colors because there are some good prints in there. And they were one-sided, so there was no print on the back for that. And then I did end up going just with black again for the base and just to pull everything together. And then when I was thinking about coordinating, I think I'm going to use some black shimmer. And then I was going through, I know we just had the secret box that is a concert theme, but aside from that, we just have not had a whole lot for symphony type of music. And I wish that they would. We've had a few punches along the way, but I was going through my stash of, you probably recognize these. These are just everything we've had along the way of my scraps when I was trying to decide to embellishment. And I don't know what this is from. You guys, I don't know if any of you will be able to tell me because I didn't recognize this one. It is a die cut. It happens to match this gray, so it's super old, but it has a music stand and 2 tickets. And then I think this is a band thing. And it's like, I don't know if this came out of the music and theater combo pack. I haven't gone to, that's the only thing I can think of is that it must have come out of there, but I do not recognize that. But I think it's going to complement well with the cardstock I already picked out. So sometimes when you go shopping your own stash, you don't even realize what you had. And it all works out in the end. So to start, this is pretty basic layout. Obviously, it's an easy one. We're going to start with our print. And I need a 3/4 inch by 11-inch strip. You can make this wider, skinnier, longer, whatever you would choose. We're just going to tuck it behind the cardstock. I'm going to go to 1 inch. I'll do it a little bit different. I'll do a variation tonight. So I'll do 1 inch versus the 3/4 inch I did on that. And I'm going to cut this down to 11 inches. So I'm going to cut off 1 inch. And then I did choose the number 2 circle. It's the red blade, so it ends up being about 5 inches. You can use larger or smaller, whatever you would like. Just going to cut some so I have this paper accent in the corner. And I didn't get it all the way. It's what happens sometimes it's usually easier to stand up to cut, but didn't quite get all the pressure all the way. So I got my circle there. If you don't have an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock, you'll want to trim one down. Like I said, mine's going to be a little bit shorter than that. I'm just going to trim this scrap I found down as big as I can. I want it down to 11 inches. So Pam, are you telling me that die cut came out of that music and theater combo kit? Is that the consensus? Because we're not sure where else it would have come from. Yeah, I'm at 8 inches, so I'm a little skinnier than my handout shows for this. But I did choose 2 BMC, and I chose edge style. If you really want to go with an edger, you can. I chose a knockout style. I mean, 2 knockout styles to choose from. I have, for consideration, I have Diamond Scroll, which I thought would add a little bit of curvature, like music notes. I thought would be nice. And then Ancient Key, I thought also kind of resembles a little bit of a staff also. So I think at the end, I'm going to go with Diamond Scroll. I think this one would look good with orchestra, but I think I'm going to save it for another one. I had maybe wanted a little bit more of a softer vibe since it was spring. So I'm going to go with Diamond Scroll and keep a note that I should use Ancient Key on a future layout. They have about 4 or 5 concerts a year plus, so it's not like I don't have plenty of concerts to do. I'm going to punch up the side. Depending on the design, you may or may not be able to get where it cuts the design in half without running off the page. And this one, I think You're gonna get about half the design. So I got, yeah, it did cut it down the middle. So I noticed that on, you're gonna get half of your design. So like if I had chosen ancient key, I probably would have got a full square and not had something running off the edge also. I have these little curly cues, which could be used to accent. I'm just gonna push them off to the side. And then I need to think about my coordinating cardstock. Like I said, I was going to choose, I think, black shimmer. So I want to cut a piece large enough to tuck behind here. I said 1.5 inches. An inch and a quarter is probably plenty to 11 inches long, obviously to match. I was looking at some of the other grays, but not all the grays go very well together. It's just how I ended up with black shimmer. I'm going to adhere this on the back. See where I put my tape. My screen just changed completely. I can't see the chat anymore. I went to listen. I don't know what happened. You'll have to tell me, Megan. I can't see the chat anymore.
I'm watching.
So I'm going to put my coordinating behind that. And then if you want to, you can cut a 4.5 by 6.5 mat to fit here. Mine's a little skinny, but I still have room for that. I think my piece should be, yep, wide enough. You could also pull out your variety mats if you want to use one up, because it will fit the 4.5 by 6.5 here at the top. So now I can put my page together. You can choose a corner or a side you kind of want to push this to. I did cut mine. This is 11 inches, but you're right. I think it was, I might have cut the wrong way in my paper to begin with, because that perfect fit may have been oriented the wrong way, but that's fine. I'll just overlap it. 11.5. What did I say on the? I said 11 inches, but 11.5 would get you the full length with this matted on top. I'm just going to overlay mine. I'll fix that on the handout before I send it out tomorrow. And then my circle would go down here in the corner. You can kind of dry fit it. Make sure you like your choices. It looks a little bare without any photos on there, but I'm going to be good with that. I'll show you where my photos are going to go so you can kind of get an idea. It worked out. I actually have 3 photos and they're all going to be the right orientation. So I'll have that one there, this one here, and this one I can trim down. Trim a little bit more of the top off also. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and glue it down. I circle down here. If you want even extra layers or dimensions, remember on the circles we cut on the outside, so you could mat this circle with another color if you use the red or the blue blade on your circle. If you want to do a two-tone over here, maybe you want to pull in another color, you know, the I could have done maybe the black shimmer actually would be pretty to accent that over there. I don't think I have a big enough piece to do that, or I would actually show you. I just pulled scraps out. And then I think I want to consider, do I want another matte color with this photo, or do I just want to leave it on there? I'm not going to peekaboo, so I don't need to worry about it being on a 4x6. This is not 6 inches, it's 5.5 because it's printed in that perfect fit or whatever they call it when you take the pictures with your phone. I'm going to cut off a little bit of the head. This Border Maker cartridge is Diamond Scroll. It's pretty old now. And I'm not matting these. I don't think it's necessary. I have dark colors in them. Okay, Kelly says I don't need a double mat, so we're just going to leave it at that. Why add extra work? Just need to get some pages done. It does pop it off pretty nice. So then now I can just think about and embellishing and enhancing. So I do have this die cut. I have if I use the whole thing, I have the music stand and the 2 tickets in this gray color. If I use this, I'm probably not going to punch the 3 circles. And you can also cut smaller circles. If these are too big for your space, you probably can only get 2 of those in there. You can also use the inside of the custom cutting system and go smaller if you want. I'm pretty excited that I found this and it matches. So I'm going to use the music stand and maybe put a few music notes around it. I could do the tickets down here. Not that we have paper tickets anymore. Everything is electronic on your phone. And I also had this one, which would have worked if I don't use the tickets. It's, of course, a lot of these music notes are black, which I knew was not going to pop off my cardstock. Drop these little pieces. That piece needs to pop out too. I should have got my little tool out. There we go. I could also do this down here if I wanted. It would fit nicely right there. And then we just put the tickets next to it. Or tuck the tickets up there. And I have room to journal which concert this was there. For the music notes, it's funny how many different colors we actually have. These like holographic ones that are not CM. They're not even Mrs. Grossman. Some other brand. Don't tell anyone. But like I said, I like whenever I do buyouts and get anything related to music, I put it in my stash because we don't have that much. If I had room, which I'm not sure that the vibe matches, but we had these 2. This was Mrs. Grossman's, the piano keys. I was thinking something could go down there, or I could use a little strip of this one down here across the bottom too, or I could save these for a future layout. I can't say that we had piano at this concert. That's a problem. Sometimes they do pull the piano out. I don't know if every time. And I don't know, can someone tell me, is this a violin or viola on this strip? Because he plays viola, so I'll be super happy if it's a viola. I'm not even sure the difference. I just know the viola is bigger. So anyone that is savvy enough and has done any of these, tell me if you know what this actually is. Of course, I could use the cello. I was a little annoyed. I saw this, like, why do we have the harp on here? How many kids' school things have the harp? They usually do this maybe once a year. I thought they could have put like violins and violas there or other instruments that kids actually play. It's not very common, I feel like. Uh, so anyways, those are my options for accenting around this. I would have to use colored music notes if I wanted to. And I could get into some of these, like there's a light pink one, which I think would go okay because of this red. I might be able to dig through and choose a red. And if I use the green, there's green in the background, that's stretching it a little bit. Or maybe just stick with a darker color. So that's true. The harp player, Megan's like, the harp players would be sad. But I'm like, the harp players have got to be very much the minority. But so that's my layout. Pretty basic, but sometimes you just got to get things done. It allows you to use up some of your supplies on hand. I do have the Music Notes BMC. I pulled out the Art Memories for Life one because, and it's similar to the CM one. I can punch out music notes with this, so I could choose any color. They're just going to be little. But one of my requests to CM, Megan might roll her eyes, I don't know how much she needs music, is I would like them to do one of these punches, because I think they could do a pretty large music note, like the double, and then have the other ones upside down in it, and get some larger music notes out of one of these punches. So that's my story that I'm sticking with. I'm reading the comments. I'm sure a lot of us have suggested music to CM, and I am happy to get what we got for the concert stuff, but it's going to be applicable for some things, not all things. And I don't feel like the Secret Box is really conducive to high school band and orchestra so much. So, all right, Megan, it's your turn.
Okay, hold on here. Let me press all the right buttons.
Yeah, Renee, my
All right.
Emerson played cello, so I don't mind having the cello stickers for when I scrapbook her stuff.
My oldest did the viola for a few years, but I have like one layout I could do.
I
And
didn't real
just move
did you?
on.
I didn't
So
realize you played viola.
Kevin did in fourth and fifth grade. And then when we moved, he didn't pick it up when we lived in Washington. He was done. It was okay. He never practiced ever. So, all right, I'm Megan Jax, and welcome to the Power Hour for May. Hard to believe, as Tessa mentioned, that we're here, but we are. And so I have a fun layout for us. We're going to be using the jumbo circle. And you know how much I love the jumbo circle. So this is a lovely, just a single page layout, but you are going to be left over with a remnant of one of those exterior ring pieces that we a couple not too long ago kind of had fun with playing around with that. So you can go back to maybe February Power Hour and see what we did there with that one if you want to with your leftover remnant. So I'm gonna switch over here to my overhead camera and we will get started. All right, so I was going to make a layout for Miss Kitty out of the perfect kitty cat papers. However, I apparently am out of them or out of the colors that I needed to be able to do what I wanted to do because for this layout and the way this all goes together is you're going to want to make sure that your papers coordinate with each other. You don't want to have too big of like too many crazy patterns going on. You can see here we have the reverse sides of the papers going next to each other. So I've got some pattern going on, but it's not like too much crazy and too much crazy. You can have a little crazy, a little bit of like a little more colorful here, and then one side being a little bit more just tame, I guess you'd say. So I am still going to do a pet layout because I thought it'd be fun, but I'm going to use the Go Fetch papers. And I picked some papers that I didn't think I would need to use for my cat because some of the papers out of Go Fetch can be used for just animals in general. Even so, if you have a cat, Go Fetch might have some options in there. But this one, this tonal red is definitely dog oriented, unless you can get your cat to say woof or roll over. The reverse side of it has the paws with the dog bones. Probably not going to be so much for Kitty. This paper I really like, and I would normally have kept on to this for using even just for something for Cody or whenever I need those colors. The opposite side to it is very neutral too, with kind of just that whatever pattern that is called. But the big thing here I want to show is when we flip this over, we can kind of see how our patterns are all going with each other. So I do have a little bit of, more excitement going here. And then over on this side, a little bit of excitement with this page or paper. So if we compare these two, it is possible that I would have these two papers next to each other. And I think they'll work out fine. Houndstooth, thank you. That's the name of the blue design, the Houndstooth. So we'll see. We'll just kind of put it together and see what we think. There's lots of flexibility in this as we're kind of creating it. So you may find that you're able to get the papers to cooperate a little bit more than you maybe thought you'd be able to. But to get started, you need 2 of designer papers. You're going to need a cardstock or a designer paper, or a tonal paper to build everything on. Some of this paper will be coming through, so you want to make sure it's going to be a supporting color. Maybe a little bit contrasty. It depends on what you want. In this, for my sample, the only place you can really see it is coming through here. I use the medium craft paper. So you have, if you use cardstock though, you can just kind of grab your cardstock swatch once you have everything and kind of figure out what do I think is going to work best. And you're going to need your jumbo circle, of course. And then you are going to want to have a piece of the kind of the pressed cardboard. So this isn't like a corrugated cardboard, it's a pressed one. This is probably out of the cardstock packs. I would always tell you to probably keep 1 or 2 of these in your stash. You just never know when you might need a thicker piece of the cardboard for a template. They work really well for that. And we're going to actually, we'll go ahead and cut this now. I think I listed as step 2, but we'll just go ahead and cut this piece now. We're going to cut it down to 7 7/8 inch. So let me grab my trimmer. 7 7/8. And here I would probably err on the, oops, this is not a 12 by 12 piece. It's a larger, well, yeah, it's bigger. My piece is not 12 by 12. It was not from cardstock. It was probably from, it's probably from top loading papers or pages. Here we go. This is a 12 by 12. It'll work. I would also recommend that sometimes the corners get a little beat up, like this corner is a little beat up. I would make sure you start with a nice corner. So look at overhead. Here's still a nice crisp corner. 7 7/8. So it's just before the 8-inch mark. You could err to the side of maybe a smidge smaller. So if I put this up here, and I'm going to go up to 7, and I want to see the line. See how I can see the 7/8 mark there? It's right there. And I'm going to push right up to it, but I can still see it. Because we just want it to be a smidge smaller than 7 7/8. And then you'll cut. And you may have to cut a couple times, a couple passes. And I'm going to rotate it and cut the same. I need a 7 7/8 inch square. There we go. There's our template. You can set that aside for the moment. And then we're going to go ahead and grab our designer papers. And we're going to grab our jumbo circle, and you're going to use the red blade on the outside track. But before you do this, I want you to take the time to center your paper on your cutting mat, because we are going to be wanting to use our square ring, the remnant that's left after we cut our jumbo circle. We're going to use that in our layout. The other thing that you need to do is you need to center your circle on here. And if you're, I hope most of you have done things with us with the jumbo circle in the past, and you know that we have your template is marked. If you are new to following us, or maybe you haven't really used the jumbo circle, I will make sure that Tessa includes the link to the information on how to mark your jumbo circle, because this does make it really easy to center your circle on your cutting mat. So I have the 4 points marked. I have other ones marked, but those are the main ones. And I'll line those up along the 6-inch axis. 6 inches, 6 inches. I'm going to make sure those get lined up. And just take your time getting it. That is definitely, you want to make sure that you're as close to that 6 inches as possible. If you need to use your ruler to double check. But once you have it in place, go ahead and grab your red blade on the outside track. And you're going to do this for both sheets of paper. So there's one, and I'll do the second one. I am working with paper that is largely non-directional, especially the pattern. Or my patterns can be folded and it should be okay. I don't have any trees or hearts or things that are going to make much of a difference if they're upside down. If you're working with a piece of paper that you have like trees or other things that really need to have a certain orientation, you might have to finagle things a little bit. I'll talk about some options you have for that in a second when we go to fold our circles. I'm just making sure that I am where I want to be. And I will go ahead and cut. All right. The next step, we have our circle here, and we're gonna go ahead and grab our template. And your template should pretty much fit on here. This circle that I just cut is still largely centered on my cutting mat. So I can see that my 45-degree angles are coming in here and hitting the corners. But even if I were to remove this and move this around, really what I'm looking for is to make sure that each of my corners is pretty much to the edge of the circle. That's at 7 and 7/8 should be pretty much in the corner or touching the edge of the circle. Now, here's what I wanted to point out to you. If you have a stripe, my stripe in my paper happened to be going diagonal. That's just how this particular paper is. I love a stripe on the diagonal from Creative Memories. I wish they would do all of the stripes that way, because then if you want to use it for a mat, it's already angled and it actually has the stripe effect all the way around it. But if you are using a paper that has a stripe that naturally when you cut it, it was going up and down like this, or you have any other paper, any other thing that has a top and a bottom direction, rotate it 45 degrees. Since I have a stripe, I can just kind of follow that 45 degrees up here. And what that's going to do is I'm going to have that even placement when I fold. Let me show you the difference. If I left my stripes going vertical and I put on this, you can see my flaps are going to be different from each other. Some of the flaps, the folded part would have the stripes going lengthwise versus, showing off that pretty stripe. So by rotating it 45 degrees and putting this on, now I have that diagonal stripe. All of my pieces are going to be the same. So just kind of rotate your pattern around a little bit if you're just not liking when you put your paper, when you put the square pattern on here, what you see is what's going to be folded. So make sure you have the more of the design up. On the back side, I really don't care about the houndstooth. I care about this pattern. So that's why I'm working with this pattern facing up. Even if I fold it the other direction, it will still work just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and get my paper figured out, make sure my template is lined up here. And then what you're going to do is you want to make sure you're keeping a good amount of pressure along the edge, because you're going to pull this paper up and you're going to kind of bring your hand in there along. You'll be able to find where that template is, or that the pattern, the cardboard pattern there, and you want to push it up against it and fold it. And you want to keep pressure down there because you don't want I don't want the template or the paper cardboard to lift up. And I'm going to try to keep it nice. And I'm not folding it all the way. I am just folding it to get that initial crease. I don't want to fold it all the way, just trying to get the initial crease. So there we go. I've got the first fold done. And I'd be able to flip this over and I can fold this back. Takes a little bit of, let me just establish where that fold was a little bit. And then I can fold it over. Here we go. After you pull out the cardboard piece, then you can kind of give it that quick light crease. And then if you decide you want it folded the other direction, you can do so. So there we go. That's one of my squares. All right. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to come back to the other one, the other circle that I cut. Remember, you're keeping track of these. I will tell you, those pieces are not fun to put back into a project folder. Here we go for this piece of paper. Again, I am just going to center my cardboard on here. It doesn't, because this is more of a random, it doesn't matter so much. I mean, you can play around with it, but I've got pretty much a non-directional paper. No matter how I turn this, it's going to be okay. I think if I flip this over, I have words on this one, but they're very tonal, and the words do kind of go all directions. So I don't know that I'm necessarily too worried about it. I could rotate it. I could rotate it on the diagonal, and I think I'll do that just to be safe. They're very tonal. You'd have to kind of work hard to read what they say, but heaven forbid something be upside down in a layout. All right, here we go. It's lined up where I want it. And go ahead and do that, repeat that fold. So Shelly is asking what paper pack I used on my handout. It was an advisor exclusive paper that's called Get Outside is what I used on my sample on the handout. I didn't include that. I'm terrible sometimes about listing what I used on the handout. Right now I'm using Go Fetch. Getting Outside is a quarterly paper pack from Creative Memories that advisors have access to. So if you are an advisor, you can get that. And then Getting Outside, if you are a customer, you can talk with your advisor and they'll be able to connect you with that, or message Tessa or I. All right, so here we go. You can kind of see what we're working with. Now it comes down to figuring out which going to be my centerpiece and which piece is going to be to the outside. So you can see here when I'm looking at this, do I want it to have the blue with that stripe? Do I want it to be, I could flip it over. Do I want it like that? And then I have this, I think this is a little too busy for the outside. Let me go back. I kept it a little more tonal on the outside edges here, and I think I want to do that. So my goal is going to be to keep it tonal. I think when I was like going through this in my mind, I think what I decided to do, I wasn't sure that I wanted my patterns next to each other, like my stripe and my this piece. I think I was gonna do where it'll sit like this. So I'm gonna the stripe is a little bit more oh, it just is in the middle here. I'm gonna go ahead and do something like that. But I'm gonna bring the stripe back in. And what's great about this stripe, as I mentioned, it was on the original paper on the diagonal. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this as it's gonna be my background piece. All right. And then there's gonna be a corner of the red. Just work with me here while I'm showing you how this is gonna work. The red will sit like this, not this piece, but I'll have the corner of the red. It'll fold back and show the bones. And then this piece will sit in the middle. My diagonal stripe is not going to be diagonal here. It could be if I wanted to rotate and completely do the layout differently, but I think it'll be okay. It'd be a nice contrast. So once you've determined what your center square is going to be, this is going to be the square I'm going to cut. All right. So you just play around with it till you determine which one do you want to cut and which one do you want to leave whole. This one's going to stay whole. This is the one I'm going to cut. So I'm going to grab my trimmer and we're going to cut from the folded corner to the folded corner, and we're going to make 4 pieces. So you kind of want to unfold it a little bit. Put it in your trimmer. Now, the great thing about the jumbo circle is in the trimmer, if you nestle this down and just make sure that the edges of your circle touch both of the little grooves here, so you can see like right there and it touches over here, that will help you center it. You've also got the folded corner bit there to help you. So there I'm lined up. I'm lined up here at the top for my corner. Close my trimmer and I'm going to cut. And then I'll cut lining this up along my cut line straight down. And I'm going to do the same on this other piece. You can, of course, align it along the top if you prefer. Just your preference. There we go. I decided that I liked medium craft. So Kim's asking, in my sample, yes, the red is the blue corner piece here. This one. This is an individual. This is one of the quarters. This is one of the quarters. All right, so here's my whole square here. And this is one of the corners. To put this together, what we're the first thing we're going to do is I am going to adhere the piece that I want as my background, but I can do a little bit of dry fitting here to make sure I like this. So this is going to sit like such. Get this. You see how this piece starts, we're starting to see just a little bit of that edging. It's toning down the kind of the stripe, just making it's not quite as predominant. I do want to pay attention here. I need to, this one's going to go here. This one's going to go here because my words have a little bit of a direction to them. Now my words are a little bit happier on the page, the red tonal. So there, I mean, that's kind of fun just by itself. And then what'll happen is this one's going to drop in the middle once I get those placed. And ultimately you'll have this effect going on. All right. That's where we're headed. So now it's time to go ahead. I like this. The other thing I could do is I could flip this over if I wanted to see the blue. If I didn't want the diagonal stripe in here, I could flip this back piece. I could flip this over and have it just be the solid blue. I think that's just a smidge boring. And since I have that diagonal stripe here, I want to take advantage of it. I do like that diagonal stripe in there. The centered, the biggest thing is I would have had to have folded this differently if I wanted to maintain that diagonal. I would have had to come in here and fold this. Otherwise, to maintain the diagonal here, I could do that. I can put it in like such, but then it really alters the look. I mean, it's not a bad, you could definitely come in here. You can start to see where this is headed. The downside is to it, I would have to cut this off here. You see where this is kind of going? This is actually, I'm going to tell you guys, this is actually what I was originally thinking I was going to do. But then when I started playing with it, I rotated it the other way. So you have that option. I could do this if I wanted to maintain that diagonal stripe through here. I could, but if I wanted it diagonal, but yet this direction, I would have had to think about that ahead of time. So you kind of just have to play around with it a little bit. So one thing, I want to shake this up just a little bit because I've got a corner here and I've got a BMC and they're paw prints. I'm going to kind of circle back to that technique we used in February where we punched the corners of our punched out circle here. And I'm going to punch it. So you guys can let me do this and see if it works. And if it does, you can give it a whirl. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. How am I going to do this? I'm going to put my BMC in here. I'm going to line it up at the top. Now here's the deal, guys. You might need to experiment a little bit with this. I'm going to wing it. I could also go ahead and put this into my BMC holder and punch if I wanted to. But I'm going to do it this way. I have a little bit of sunshine coming in. The sun is, so I'm going to go, yeah. I'm going to stick it out just a little bit. I'd rather have a little bit too much space. So now the thing is I don't like those paw prints coming through. So I am going to have to come in with another piece of a color. I will probably grab blue here. I will just get some blue cardstock. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my other papers, I'm going to punch my other pieces just like I did this one. Same general concept. This is the paw BMC, paw prints BMC. I have it as the Our Memories for Life version of it, but they have brought it back. It's been a couple of years, but we did have it since my time of Creative Memories. I just didn't feel the need to rebuy it in the Creative Memories colors, I guess. I got them all punched. And I just need to grab some blue cardstock, and I should have had this out and I didn't. I think I'm gonna like the blue under there. Yeah, the blue pops a little more than navy would. I think if I did navy, it wouldn't work so well. The only thing I'm going to do here is I know I can cover this with a triangle. So I'm going to cut a square. I'm just going to find out how tall does my square need to be. And it looks if I do a 3x3 square and cut that on a diagonal to make 2 triangles, I should be good. Now, here's what I'm going to do too. Before I cut a whole new sheet of paper, I'm going to pull out scraps. because I should be able to get 2 3x3s out of that. Yeah, it's 6 wide, so that'll work. 3 by 3, and then cut this on the diagonal. And I'll cut another one the same way. Sure where my silicone mat went, so we'll just wing it with the. Well, my triangle, my 3x3 triangle did not work, ladies. What the heck? Look at that. That's not gonna work. All right. When in doubt, make it fit, by golly. There we go. I got it to work on there. I'll put a little more adhesive in here to make sure it stays where I want it to be. And so bummed about that. Oh well. Pardon me while I dig out some more scraps of glue. I've got plenty. And we're just getting this covered, getting those. Two more. Get it all pieced together. I'm going to go over my time. Hopefully you guys don't mind. I could have just weeded them back together, but this will work too. 3x3 squares, chop it off basically so it looks like a diamond. See, there's my really poorly made diamond. There we go. All right. So that detour has been completed. We are back to assembly. All right, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to put down my square, the ring. Get that put into place. And it just goes right onto the cardstock. I'm not worried about it's going to be, I just want to have it lined up on here. I won't see the outer edge of my cardstock. I mean, you could get fancy if you wanted to try to trim this down, give it a decorative edge, but that's, you're starting, you got some real narrow, more narrow sections in here that might be a little risky. Next thing you're going to do is you are going to go ahead and put down your corners first. Put the corners down first, and then it's easier to get the square centered in here. I tried putting the square in first, but it really, you really want to build it from the corners in. And you want to try to get your corners evenly spaced. So about that 1/4 inch from the outside edge is going to give you plenty of space in the middle to be able to put that folded circle. I'm also going to take the time and put some adhesive on here and get these flaps folded down because they're just kind of a little annoying. Now they'll be a lot more cooperative as I'm putting these on the page. You can use some repo adhesive if you want. It might be good to do that just so that you have some flexibility to be able to maneuver it around a little bit. The 1/4 inch spacing should work pretty well. I'm not going to push down super hard. I'm just going to kind of, gently just lightly push it into place. Then my adhesive is engaged without being fully committed. I can move it even though I use regular adhesive. Looking to see here, do my points line up? And they do. It's hard for me to tell. So Teresa, yeah, I do think Kitty deserves such a really pretty page. Unfortunately, this is going to be for a dog that I don't own. I'm going to have to figure out, I don't know, a dog. I get the who's got a friend who has a dog. We don't have a dog. My parents don't have a dog. I'm really have to rack my brain who I know. I mean, I know people with dogs, but I will redo this probably for a kitty layout for Kitty because she does deserve a super cute page. Okay, so there you go. Here is what we've got. Oh, was that so funny? Who wanted me to, I see up there, somebody wants me, to says, mail it to me. Oh, Kristen, she'd love, yeah, I could mail it. I could have a drawing and whoever wins Power Hour, gets a dog layout. Okay, so here we go. Now it's time to put this piece in the middle. And there we go. You can start to see how it's going to take shape. So I'm going to glue these edges down because they're annoying me. It's really hard to get spacing when they're like flapping in the wind. So I will get those adhered into place. You kind of do, when you fold paper, you do have to be a little more generous with the adhesive until it like gives up and submits to your fold. There we go. And then here is when you can start to see, now you're just going to center this in here and you're kind of just hoping to get that even spacing. I've got a little bit of a wonky fold over here, so I have a feeling that I'm not completely square. You can see I'm not, see, I'm a little out of whack. I'm going to pull this side up and see if I can make an adjustment. What I want to do is I'm going to try to get my square back to rights. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, just don't tell my father. My father was a perfectionist in the family, and that's probably where I got any of my perfectionist tendencies was from him. Definitely the measure 5 times, cut once type of person. There was never a ruler, a T-square, a right angled bracket thing that he never passed up. So here we go. That's where it's going to be. I do have the option. I mean, I could have my stripes going sideways like this. I'm just going to leave them going. I think I'll have them going up and down. That's fine. And then after this point, the next thing you're going to want to do is figure out what you want your mats to be, what color you want your mats to be. And I think I want my mats in this particular case. I think I want them to be, I think brown. But this is where, having your color swatches here would be great. I could go back to my tonal papers from Go Fetch and see if I've got their Go Fetch itself had matte paper. So I could look in there and see if there's actually like maybe a title mat or something that I wanted to include in this. But I'm actually thinking, do I want to use, I'm thinking some brown shimmer, because this is what I would consider more of a showcase piece, in the sense of you're only going to get maybe 2 photos on here. If you start putting a lot of photos on here, you start to lose the design work. So as a front page, a statement page, an end of album page, this is going to be a good one to do. But I would really, if you can just do a couple of square photos on here, it's going to be a great option, just giving it lots of space for the design itself to shine. You can see here, I did some embellishments in this corner because I didn't do that corner technique. So that is, you do have some space to add some embellishments or add some journaling. You could come in and put in a title along, depending if it's super short, journaling along the edge. But you can see here, just coming in with a couple of squares really lets the rest of the layout shine through. So I am going to use some brown shimmer paper for my mats, and they're just 4.5 by 4.5 inch mats, 2 squares. And let me see really quick if I've got, I do, I have some scrap of the shimmer paper. Gold would actually pop a little bit in here too, really well, because there's a little bit of that golden yellow in here. There's yellow tonal paper in the matte pack for the Go Fetch, but I think I'm going to just stick with the brown. We'll keep it simple. And then I'd be able to come in with stickers and other whatnots in here. So they're 4.5 inch squares. And there's just 2 of them. And then you use those with 4x4 photos. Just kind of put on here however you want. So it does dial back a little bit of that stripe in the middle, but that stripe is pretty. It's a lot. And then come in here, we just hide a little bit of that in the middle. We're still keeping all of the outside things there. All right, so it's kind of fun. Something to play around with. Add the details here with the punches if you want. I know you ladies, we did this technique a couple months ago, and you guys were showing off all sorts of punches. It's going to be the similar concept of just punching the corner of your triangle or of the circle. And just as the reminder, you are still going to have a whole piece of this left. So go back to Power Hour. It was either January, February's Power Hour. Remember where we folded it in, and then we did some other fun things in there, but you can punch these pieces. All right. Ooh. All right. I did go over just a little bit, but hopefully you guys found it to be worth it. All right. So thanks you guys for joining us tonight. It's very exciting to see you. We really appreciate it. We will, of course, be back in June with our June Power Hour. We will figure out a date. We're both out. Our kids are out of school and vacations start to come into play. So we'll take a look at those dates and make sure that it's included in the email that is sent out. So the email will go out probably tomorrow. Tessa, I think, had one little correction. I'm going to try to get this put together and we'll get that email to you. It may end up in your spam. So if you don't hear from us, check your spam folder. If it's in your spam folder or your promotions tag, even check the update tag, our tab from Gmail. That's a new one they're sneaking in there these days. And if you find us in there, go ahead and drag that over to your inbox, mark it not spam, whatever you need to do to try to convince your email provider that we're not spam. We're better than spam. And another big thing is that Summer Scrap is coming up. It's our 8-week summer scrapbook challenge. We did this for Winter Frolic. We do it in the summer too. It is 8 weeks of just wonderful. Tessa and I create layouts for you guys. We have the challenge layouts. We have our throwback layouts where we're refreshing older content that we show you techniques. So when we say it's a throwback, and we're saying, oh, well, you're like, it's like old stuff that you're just bringing new. Oh no, we make in the videos, we have plenty of helpful hints and tips and things we want you to try and think about. So there's lots of great content in there. And the registration is going on right now. We have a private Facebook group that's set up that will be opening later in this month. So you can, join a lot of your fellow scrappers and we have a good time in there. Janet's saying there's 16 total layouts for summer scrap. That's so they're 8-week challenges, and there's two handouts and 2 videos a week. And everything's recorded. There's the only thing we will do live synchronous together is the kickoff crop. Even that, if you miss it, it's a Zoom crop. And if you miss that, it's recorded. You can watch it later. But everything else we do have some Facebook Lives, but again, everything's recorded. So if you're gone for 2 weeks, if you're like, it's a beautiful day, I'm out in my garden, I don't want to scrapbook today, no problem. You can catch those videos whenever it works best for you. I've known people, they save up 4 weeks of the content and they go to a fun summer crop and they just work on it all weekend long. All right, so I think that's all I have for you guys. Register for Summer Scrap if you want to join us. June Power Hour will be coming. If the recording for this, along with the corrected handout, that one little thing, seriously, just write it. It's a 1/2 inch, 11.5 inches. We'll be able, that'll all come to you tomorrow. All right, so thank you guys for joining us. We will see you all soon. If you ever have questions, send a message to us. We'll be happy to help. Bye.